And welcome back, it's the test server, dev server, or whatever you want to call it. Of course, as per usual, everything is prone to change, so take everything with a grain of salt. I'm gonna keep this small and brief. I will be covering all the planes, all the characteristics, and my thoughts on them. I'll try to keep it short, but you know, usually when I say I'll try to keep it short, it's gonna end up being 15 to 20 minutes. First things first, we have the MiG-23 DN. Now this thing won't have any missiles. At least no anti-air missiles. It has some good ordnance. The thing is, at 9.7, this thing might become a little bit too strong. I am expecting this BR to go up a little bit. It will only have the GSH-23 for air-to-air combat. But the MiG-23 flight model, despite it having a slightly worse engine than the MiG-23 MF or the MiG-23 M, it is still going to be an absolute menace if this thing drops at 9.7. The acceleration is alright. You can run this probably with min fuel. But let's take a quick look at it. It's still a MiG-23, so even if you shove an absolute garbage ass engine in this thing, it is still going to retain its speed pretty well. It is still going to be pretty fast. The only thing it's going to suffer in is a little bit of that acceleration and a little bit of the sustained turning capabilities. But at the end of the day, the MiG-23 flight model just maintains its speed so damn well that at 9.7 it's going to be a little bit of a menace. So let's look at this acceleration. Of course, originally this thing will be a ground attacker. That's why it doesn't have a radar. It has the MiG-27 nose. However, it doesn't have the 30mm on the bottom. But this 30mm, well, at least the shells, you'll see them arrive pretty soon here. So the acceleration you can see right here, it's alright. For a 9.7, however, definitely going to be way too strong. What is the top speed like? Well, let's look at it together, shall we? Welcome back. There we go, red line. You're starting to see the problem here. It's going to keep accelerating. Getting the reduced speed warning. Let's look at the sustained turning capabilities, especially with the wings folded out. Because right now, look at the retention. Does this look like a 9.7 to you? It doesn't to me, and it shouldn't to you either. Sure, it doesn't have any missiles. No money, no bitches, no nothing. But the flight performance that you have right here is going to be more than sufficient. Let's fold these wings all the way out. Let's look at the sustained G's here. And you can tell that I'm not dropping speed that rapidly. Sure, I'm losing some speed, but in a flat turn like this, I am not losing it that fast. So let's brake a little bit to just show you how slow we can get it. Fold them in. Here we are, 580. We're probably going to start accelerating. Yeah, there we go. We are accelerating in a very slight drop. But this is about as flat as you can get it without tinkering with it for 10 minutes. But you're going to be looking at about 600 kilometers an hour, and I'm not even on the deck right now. So, there you have it. The MiG-23 DN. Let's go to the next nation, and we're going to look at the Su-25s. And first things first, this thing feels quite alright, and of course the premium one is going to get R60 MKs, which are the German equivalent of the R60Ms, the all aspect variant. The Su-25 in the tech tree will not have it, and as you can see it lined up right here, we are going to be looking at, well, the S-13 spam. If you thought the S-13s on the K-50 were bad, wait until this thing starts flying in. At least you can do it at the start of the match. Here is the loadout, and the loadout on this one isn't all that different. Take a quick look at it. These airframes are both identical, and you already know that I'm going to be taking out the premium one with the R60 MKs. And the flight performance on this thing is actually pretty good. I've been looking forward to the Su-25. Iconic plane. And the gun on this thing is absolutely filthy. So let's add the takeoff run here, or let's look at it rather, because it's pretty damn good. Now, of course, at 9.3 you are not going to be the fastest, because this thing rips at Mach 0.84. Not the fastest of the bunch, but it's still just an attacker. The acceleration is basically on par with the MiG-17 on minimum fuel. Keep in mind the minimum fuel is only like 5.5 minutes. Max fuel you will be looking at like 18, which is just a little bit too much. I would have liked 10 to 15 on this thing, but alas, here we are. And the main selling point will of course be the ordnance as well as the gun. The gun that you get on this thing will be basically the MiG-27 gun, except you are looking at 50 less rounds for 2000 rounds per minute less, so you are getting much more trigger time. The shell for shell power is strong enough, the rate of fire is enough, so anything really, you are not sacrificing anything, you are just getting more trigger time. The penetration is not the best, however when you do penetrate something, you are going to be looking at an instant KO. These rounds are extremely deadly, and I've been trying to shoot down these sabers for a little bit already, and so far it doesn't matter where I hit them. If I hit them in the rudder, both their wings fall off. It's very good. It is still like a 3.5 kilometer range shot. Like, these shells go on forever. I want you to look at this. They go on forever. There are the impacts. Not sure how far that is exactly, but if you do a top down straight from orbit kind of dive and you shoot at 3.5, almost 4 kilometers, you are going to be looking at some impacts on the ground. And for air-to-air combat, especially in the head-ons, this might become extremely nasty. So I will be trying to run down this F-86. And the maneuverability is, it's not as good as the A-10. This thing, however, is much quicker, and it can still kind of hang with a MiG-17. It's not gonna be winning it, but it can hang with it, which is more than sufficient against your average pilot. And it's more than sufficient because it's a goddamn attacker. And so far, whenever you hit like a single shell, it's way too high, you're gonna be looking at an absolute explosion. There we go. There you go, new fire effects as well. I've been trying to one-tap planes, and trust me, this shell absolutely vaporizes anything it touches. And we will start looking at the protection analysis in a second here. But here are your average turning capabilities. It will maintain like 690 if you keep it level. Let's keep it a little bit more level. Get a little bit of a better idea here. Here we go. Speed is dropping, but I mean, this is not terrible at all. Keep in mind, I am on minimum fuel right now. It will be a little bit lower once you start getting more fuel, but here we are. We are slowly but surely losing. The rudder is not that amazing. You can tell it right here. Like, if you fly like this, it's going to keep the rudder tilted for a while, which is kind of annoying. The rudder is good in its own regard. This thing is of course not a fighter, so it's not supposed to be that amazing. But this plane is pretty good. At least how it is right now. And the R60 MKs, especially at 9.3, are a little bit sus. But you know, if you vent away quick enough, you might just be able to dodge them. Especially if you have flares. The flaps are pretty good. They are not very fast, however. Especially when you pull them in. But with them all the way down, your turn rate is nothing to laugh at. Now, especially if you get a little bit of speed in this thing. Look at this. It's not a J35. Look, these flaps are not very quick to pull back in. They're not horrible, but they kind of remind me of propeller flaps, which are of course kind of bottom of the barrel. They're not quite a Vautour IIN, but you know, look at that look at that air time. I'll shoot in the air for once. Look how long you can see these tracers. As long as that tracer is burning, those shells are going. And they are still going for a little bit after the tracers run out. But for not that much longer. Britain gets absolutely nothing, Japan does neither does USA, China gets nothing, and we have arrived at the G91Y. Now this thing is not exactly special. It's a G91YS without the missiles at a lower BR, so I'm not going to be showing you this thing. It's not different in the slightest. It's a reskin of a plane we already have in the game. And then we arrive at France. And they are actually getting something interesting. And no, it's not a Vautour. Well, it's kind of interesting, because you are looking at a Vautour with Nords, which is alright, but you're also looking at the Matra 511s. These are the first radar missiles you will find, probably, if it doesn't go up in BR. 8.7 currently. It's a Vautour 2 with a radar, and this one gets the all-flying tail. Now, you do want to still be careful that you don't blow your wings off, because, you know, it is still a Vautour, and it's very prone to ripping. It does get the same engines as the Vautour A, not the Vautour 2B, which is a little bit unfortunate. But it is what it is. What can you do about it? So we are going to be taking off here, and I'm going to try to missile this MiG-15 before I actually have to do a circle around, and I hope I can lock them right here and show you how these missiles kind of behave. They are not very amazing, but they're definitely better than something like the R3R. You can tell offline tail, so it should be compressing a little bit less. It's probably not going to be amazing. It's still a Vautour, keep that in mind. And of course, we should have misled it. That turn rate is not too bad. It is not amazing. It is not a Matra Magic 2. But that's not bad. Of course, when the lock goes out, it becomes a little bit annoying. But that's just the aspect of this shot. Not much to say about this right now. It's a mid missile on a mid plane. But at least it's a little bit better than the Vautour IIA that we have currently. However, it's a little bit unfortunate that you don't get any of the other drops. So you are only looking at the missiles, or either the Nords or the R511s. But the Nords are kind of bugged right now. So I think most people are going to be taking these out. And if you really want, you can of course do it like this. Take 2 of each. And you should be covered for most scenarios. Problem is with these two Nords, they like to blow up just a little bit too far. They have a proxy range for a higher HE filler. I think it's supposed to have like 3 times the amount. So very often it blows up just a little bit too far away to actually kill. And you end up wasting a missile. Doesn't do any damage, or at least no critical damage. And then you have to shoot a second one and you just piss yellow his entire plane. Kind of unlucky. But here we are. The Mirage 2000 CS5. Now this thing actually has some things going for it. First things, no good ground ordnance. Now you can bring the usual weapons here, and you can pick bombs on all of these, I believe. Let me take it. Oh, let me show you real quick. You can take bombs only on these, so you can bring 5 of the 5 250s. But I advise you to not take that if you are going to be flying this thing out, at least in air RB, and for ground RB you probably have better picks. Now, what is this thing like? The issue is with this thing, you still have the DEFYN cannons, 125 rounds per gun, in true Mirage fashion. That's however where the bad things end for this thing. As of currently, you have 2 Magic 2s, amazing missile. You have 2 new and improved 530Ds. Not the 530Fs, the 530Ds. And these things, well, they pull quite a little bit better. Let's look onto this MiG-15. Now they act quite similarly. However, these are not that easily spoofed by chaff. The curve is still pretty good. It's still a pretty good missile. The acceleration at low speed till like 400 kilometers an hour is a little bit slower than the Kafir. However, when you start reaching 400 till about 1200, they are almost identical. So you are now looking at basically a Kafir with bigger wings, which is already a great thing, and much better missiles. And also, if you have noticed or haven't noticed, let's look at this wing. You might start noticing something pretty quickly here, because I need to drop a little bit of speed without passing out. Let's drop the throttle a little bit, because it's actually just too strong for its own good. There they are. You are looking at leading edge slats. There they are. So all in all, this thing is quite good so far. I am pretty sure, however, that it's placeholder, because the rip speed is only 1365 right now, and it should be about 1500, 1450, 1480, somewhere between 1450 and 1500. So it should be much quicker. So this thing should potentially, I'm expecting it to be changed still. The thing that won't get changed, however, is these things. And they will be forever trash. I'm hoping they get changed, but you know, I've run out of hope for the French tech tree in that regard. This thing is so not French actually that you start believing that it's actually made by the Americans. I know that's an insult to all French people that are watching my channel, but in War Thunder fashion, that's just how it is. But there is one gimmick that I want to show you real quick, and I'm just trying to, I'm trying to plow through a little bit of my fuel. And then I will try to slow down as much as possible, and you might have an idea where I'm trying to go with this. The power to weight on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's a little bit like the Kafir in that regard. So once we reach below 2 minutes of fuel, we are going to try and throttle down. We're gonna try and lose as much speed as possible. And that's something the Mirage is very good at. Even this one. When you turn the engine off, it's still a delta with the air brakes out. Well, with the air brakes in, it's still basically a flying air brake. So you know what is the difference. I still have all my missiles on. So that's not ideal. So I want you to take this with a small grain of salt. But you might see where this is going. Look at my speed. Look at my speed. Look at my speed. We are reaching 90 degrees. Now, sure, I'm slowly but surely losing some, but there we go. We are not moving anymore, and I'm now gaining speed in a 90-degree climb. I'm starting to lose it again, unfortunately, because of course we have that one missile on, and we are getting a little bit of altitude. But I think you're seeing the idea of it. This thing is not going to be as French as I thought it was going to be. A little bit unfortunate that you are forced to carry two missiles. You can't carry 4 magics or 4 of the radar ones. You can't really choose. You are forced to take a certain loadout, but it feels quite alright. Kafir currently is out-turning it slightly, but you know, I'm pretty sure it's a placeholder. And no more planes right now. There are some other things confirmed and some things announced. One of them will be the Harrier. I'm not sure if it's confirmed, but it's in the files, as well as another Su-25. So you are going to be looking at 3 of them in total. And then there's probably some other stuff as well. Some planes have also been changed, but I'm not going to go through all those changes. I will go through them once they actually go live, so I don't have to do this video 6 times over. And in true fashion on the channel, it actually turned out to be 20 minutes. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to stick around. I upload 3 videos a week. But until then, see you all in the next one.